How's it going, guys? Copy here. Today I wanted to go over my guide for league starting on Erika2. I have a lot of guides on Erika2, but I all covered them from a perspective of leveling them as a second character instead of from a first character, so this one was absolutely lacking for the build. I don't anticipate this really changing much between Season 4 and Season 5, so with the announcement for Season 5, coming in a couple weeks, and with a couple of SSF events coming up here starting on the 18th and on the 25th. I figured now would be a good time to cover some starter builds for various classes and my recommendations of how to go about leveling them. First things first, with Erika2, you do end up starting off with Thunder Spike. You will end up just pretty much using this throughout the entire way while you're leveling. When you start to get towards the end, you can swap this out for like Berserking Blade if you want. That's something I personally did just to kind of test with it and I guess tinker with it while playing and doing treasure trove farming in order to push myself towards level 90. So you can go ahead and do that. With Thunder Spike, you are going to basically run Silhouette and Haunt and Shadow Will. You'll get all of these pretty early. Shadow Mask, I don't believe you get until about level 55. So, when you get your 5th and 6th slots, you can kind of put those in there at that point. Other than that, I run Compound Source here with a Limber Stretch just for the movement speed. And then we are running Spiral Strike. If you do end up having weapons that cannot be used with Spiral Strike, then instead you'll just use Leap Slam, or Leap Attack rather. That's going to be the same thing. And then I personally was using Shadow Dash as well, just for some extra mobility to get through. If you don't want to use Shadow Dash and you want to use a skill that's going to give you more damage, then you would run Burst of Anger instead, just for the additional attack speed, as well as skill area. But I was personally just using this just for that extra teleport and the extra mobility. After that, you end up picking up Electrocute. You're not really going to get your supports on these early on, so you'll just have Electrocute and you will have to cast this by hand early on until you get to like your level upper 40s or so. But you can kind of swap this. If you end up putting this on like your E skill instead of your spacebar, you will be able to equip the support for Terrain of Malice earlier. But it really comes down to kind of when it really offers it to you. For your supports, you have Electric Conversion here that you can be running, as well as Summon Thunder Spirit. We are running Fearless, and then you can either be running Steadfast or you can run a Thunder Imbue instead. It really comes down to personal preference in terms of those. I personally like just the extra defenses now that I'm in maps. But for those who want, a little more damage, you can also just run the Thunder Imbue instead. So what you really want to focus on with the tree here, you are going to start on Goddess of Hunting. I personally, because I'm just focusing on as much movement speed as possible with this in order to push myself through the campaign as fast as possible, I was using Flicker here. This is giving you a huge attack and cast speed bonus for your mobility skills. Once you are done getting through campaign, you do want to swap this over to Paralyzed, but for getting through the campaign, you really want to get as much movement speed as you can, just so you can kind of get through these things as quick as you possibly can. With that, you are basically going to be putting your points here directly into damage first. You pick up a little bit of this attack and cast speed, and then you basically put your points here into this movement speed, as well as the cooldown recovery speed for the mobility skills. This is where I'm using that extra mobility skill just to basically continue to teleport around on top of the whirling blades. Then you want to basically put your points all the way over here into this attack speed here, and then without these 3 points in life and energy shield, that puts you at exactly 24 points. And then from there, you end up running Rushed here for that extra movement speed and then extra additional damage for when you have moved recently. For your second tree, you're going to want to pick up Blade Runner here. You can actually run this. It's probably better off to be running this with Transition instead of Conductive early on, just because this is really going to help ensure you're just getting a big thing here. The shock damage isn't as important early on because you don't have all of your points for feline figures, so you're not actually triggering as much shock damage as you finish out your hero traits here on Erika2. And then for these, you're doing the same thing. You're putting your points. I ended up putting my points into attack speed when I was leveling, just because the higher attack speed I have, the faster I'm, whirling across the map. I put a few points here into skill area because I was using Berserking Blade while finishing off my levels in Treasure Trove. But instead of the skill area, you can just take the extra damage over here instead, or you can take some life or some defenses if you want. I picked up a little bit of life regain here. And then I took these points here for the flat lightning damage to attacks, as well as this lightning pen here. And then for your majors, again, you take transition, and then you take queer angle here, because you really just want to ensure that you are getting your lucky damage against shocked enemies. For your last tree, this one's kind of up in the air. I personally take Warlock because my goal is to still transition this build into the Chain Lightning version of the build. That build does require some gear, but you're not really fully leaning into that yet. But the additional cooldown recovery speed here on Indifference is still very, very good and still very helpful, because this is going to push you. It is going to lower the cooldown on your feline figure, which is a huge chunk of your damage and the majority of your damage on this character, to be honest, once you actually start to get towards the end game. So we're putting our points here into Sealed Mana, more attack and cast speed, and then some damage here, and then +1 to levels, as well as this cooldown recovery speed and these max charges, and then this resist here at the end. And then for the last trait, I run off the beaten track just so I can run more aura supports, but you can run dirty tricks if you want to. That comes down to personal preference. For the hero traits, as well as the relic, while you're leveling, again, you just want electric replication here, and you're going to follow electrified flash over the top. You take flashing sparks here, and then you are going to go static meteor. The lightning fast is not as good without having the static meteor as well. So you want to ensure that basically you're always going to be using static meteor. If you can get a memory here that has this resist on it to ensure that your resistance is at least capped when you are using static meteor, that will help ensure that you're not actually getting yourself killed. For your relic, you pretty much just want any 3 engraving relic here. Preferably you want to be able to find yourself one that has the cannot become immune to shock as well, because the end goal is to basically set yourself up with an immune to shock setup, so that you can get the relic here that also makes you unaffected by shock. For the last trait here, you will end up using Wild Lightning, presuming you are actually hitting 106% lightning resist. If you're not getting yourself up to 106% lightning resistance, you are better off using Lightning Walker. So depending on how your gear is early on, it's a little hard to get res, so you would end up using Lightning Walker instead of Wild Lightning. For your weapons and your gear, you are pretty much just going to be pushing to try to at least get your 4-piece of your commemorative set early on while you're doing the campaign and leveling. When you are doing your treasure troves, you'll want to do each treasure trove maybe 5 or 6 times, basically until you out-level it to the point where it's giving you worse experience. The early items you are looking for a Lonesome Ring. You are looking for the Omniscient Prototype to get your 110 energy off of it. And then you... Oh, excuse me. And then you are just looking for the weapons here. Let me see if I can find them in my stash over here. You end up starting to get these later weapons. What did I do with them? Oh, I guess I tossed them away. So Endless Night prototypes are good early on as well. These are going to give you a nice solid amount of damage if you can actually get ones with a high roll on them. This roll has only 200 dex. If you can get one that doesn't, I think the baseline is almost 750. I actually got these other fire shielding prosthetics, which actually really helped with leveling because you have a lot of movement speed. So I was able to just kind of run around and basically get kills off of that. The other item that you can use is, again, there is a item that drops in the last treasure trove that will actually give you a solid amount of thunder damage. I believe the item's called Thunder Branch, and that will help push you on as well. But pretty much the main ones you're really looking for early on. You're looking to get a Lonesome Ring because this is going to boost your damage a lot. Preferably you can get one with a nice high roll here on all 4 of the skills. And then get your Omniscient Prototype, which will allow you to get your auras on sooner than you would normally be able to do so. Sea Splitters are pretty solid if you can get them. This is kind of required if you are going to run the Berserking Blade version of the build. That version does have better clear because you're just basically doing a screen-wide circle on your entire screen and you're kind of hitting everything, but you do need Sea Splitters for this guaranteed Steep Strike in order to run that version of the build. If you don't get these, just continue to stay on the Thunder Spike version, as that version has better single target damage anyways. As along with all of my builds, I will be including this in the spreadsheet, as well as I created a new filter for this specifically for looking for gear for this character. So this here, let me see if I can actually find it here. I updated it, but filter for Erika2. So this will be the filter code here. I do actually need to apply this one here. What we did end up doing with this is, what I did end up doing with this is, I have showcased basically everything that you are going to want for Erika here. I separated things out based off of every single item slot. So this is for trinkets here. For the top one, this second one here is going to be for weapons. So this is looking for weapons that have at least 3 of these mods on there. And then this bottom one here is going to be for armor. You can see here, this is for all types of armor. I didn't specify anything specific. I actually realized I forgot to add cooldown recovery speed in here, so we're going to go ahead and fix that now. But so by default, these are all set to just look for basically more than 3 mods that are tier 3. You can change these at first here to actually be at tier 4. So that's 0 to 12 because that's 4 times 3. As you start to get better gear, you'll want to adjust this, right? So these go to, basically this is looking for 2 mods that are tier 4 or better, or 3 mods that are tier 4 or better on your weapon, 3 mods that are tier 4 or better on your armor. As you start to get more armor that you already basically have and you don't want to see as much, then you start to scale this down, right? So you get to make it 0 to 4, that's going to be looking for, at least 2 tier 1s with a tier 2, or, adjust it basically accordingly based off of what gear you are already picking up. I kept it simple here with just the 3, just so it's easier to manage, and then this way, this is kind of just a starting kind of filter to kind of get you going. This includes the relics and memories as well. The relics and memories that are worth picking up just to sell are going to be in pink, and then the ones that are actually for your class will be in this white and red. So, yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below, and I'll be more than happy to help you. And other than that, see you in the next one. And this is going to be your standard Demiman Village showcase of every build. As you can see here, this is going to be here with the Shadow Spike version of the build, or Thunder Spike version rather. This is on tier 6 right now. The goal is pretty much if you have Anthem and you have the pets, you basically want to push yourself in Treasure Trove, pushing almost to level 90 if you can, or as close as you can get to level 90. You can tell my gear is still not that good yet. I have not been paying attention to upgrading it yet. I actually just got this character to maps here at about 85, but I was able to start to push this character towards T7. If I would have actually had my filter going earlier on, I would have had better gear by now, but because of that, I don't have anything yet. As you do get to the Nether Realm, it is a good idea to really focus on trying to get some of your Voyager gear, just because, honestly, mainly just because it has very good defensive stats, because you're going to get a lot of res on it, as well as a lot of life on it as well. So you can see these gloves here, they fit just because they had a single mod here for fire damage to attacks and spells. So we're just looking for anything offensive, and then we're going to go ahead and pick that up.